Hello, everybody. I feel like this conversation needs to be had every once in a while. And I want to talk about these really popular fragrances and whether or not they actually smell like ass. Because if you're new and you're trying to get a bottle of something, and let's say you go to Macy's or Sephora and you're smelling really popular scents like Coco Mademoiselle, Versace Eros, Dior Sauvage, and Black Opium by YSL, and you're like, oh wow, these are actually nice. Then you go back home and you're looking on your phone or on your laptop and you're seeing everybody just dogging on these fragrances and you're scratching your head as to why people are doing that. And let me give you the explanation that I believe is the reason for that. The first is because anything that's popular is going to get hate, whether it's fragrances, music, literally everything, sports, right? So when something has a lot of love, you cannot be surprised when a huge hate train follows. That's just because it has a lot of exposure, therefore it has a lot of opinions like that are connected to it. Now, if someone is saying that it actually smells like ass, the reason I believe that is because most people don't even know how to apply a fragrance correctly. Let's just take any young guy that has Dior Sauvage as his one and only fragrance in his collection. There are so many of them that just go overkill on their fragrances. And you know what? I know that it's common for some people to be oversprayers, right? But I am talking about just loading it up to a point where if you're in the car with them, you're suffocating and it's just so irritating. And then you grow a sort of disdain to that scent. So because you know somebody that wears Dior Sauvage by association and you're like, oh yeah, that guy smells bad and I hate Dior Sauvage, you're gonna say, yeah, that fragrance is ass. On the other hand, there are so many people that I've seen both in real life and online that apply their fragrances, they spray it on their arm and they rub it in. An example of that was my cousin. I remember when I asked him I wanted to smell Versace Eros Flame on him because that is his scent, right? And he sprays it on his arm, and before I can even say anything, and before he even lets it sit, he starts going back and forth like this, playing his arm like a fucking violin, you know? And I was like, and it just, when I smelled it, I was like, yeah, that I'm not gonna trust that that's how the fragrance smells, because I've made a lot of videos as to why you should not rub in your fragrance and what it does and how it affects your performance and how it can actually make you smell kind of bad with it. And by the way, if you've never done this, like this is an experiment for those of you that have never tried this. If you've ever just rubbed your arms back and forth like this hard and fast and then put your nose to it, it's going to smell like chicken shit, okay? So imagine doing that with a fragrance there and people are like, how come it kind of smells a little bit like BO? How come this fragrance smells like that? Now, I'm not saying, of course, everybody goes hard and fast like that, but I have seen it a lot of times visually. Even when people, they do it in circles like this and they're just like, they smell it and they're like, oh, that doesn't smell good. And no, it doesn't help with, settling into your skin by forcing it in. Again, I've made a lot of videos as to why you should not do that. Just let it settle naturally and let it breathe, right? So there it is. You have people applying scents wrong, whether they're just spraying it and doing way too much and it makes you sick to your stomach, or they're rubbing it in. Another thing is kind of what I touched on before, but you'll have scent by association. What I mean by that is we have a sexy fragrance like Black Opium, right? And you'll see a lot of hate about it of like, oh, that fragrance, it smells like an old woman, but it doesn't actually smell like an old woman. It's just that that person's mother wears the scent, So of course, when you have a fragrance that is a nice scent, but in your mind you associate it with your mother or your ex, you are not going to find that scent attractive whatsoever. I've seen that. That's very common with, Dior Sauvage, where girls are sick of Dior Sauvage. They don't like it because they've smelt it on almost every guy ever, on their exes, on their brothers, on their dads, on their cousins, and so forth. Same with Versace Eros, and vice versa with things like Black Opium. Now, if you're wondering why I don't consistently recommend those fragrances on my page, it's for the latter reason, and that is I don't really want to recommend scents that are super, super common, where if you're newer and you get them, and let's say you're on a hot date and your date's like, oh yeah, you smell like my brother, or my dad wears that, or hey, my mom wears that, or my sister wears that, you know, because that is just a big blow. Nobody wants to hear that comment when they're out with somebody that they're interested in, which is the reason why I don't really like to recommend those, because I myself have kind of become numb to smelling them all the time. And for the most part, people want to smell good when they're just getting started with fragrances as well. But if anything, they want to smell good, but they don't want to smell like a majority of people too. So if there's a fragrance that is, you know, relatively, that's nice, but not too popular, most people would gravitate towards that versus something that is just known universally. Because a lot of the DMs I'll receive is, hey, I want to get my first fragrance. Can you recommend me something that's really mass appealing, but not everybody has, or something a little bit unique? Because, you know, some people, for the most part, they want to stand out, and that's totally fine, right? So again, let me just say, please wear whatever you want to. If you're at these retail stores and you like how Black Opium smells on you, or how Coco Mademoiselle smells on you, then get it. You know, people will have their different opinions about it. And also know that there is a huge difference between the opinions of people online and the opinions of people you will actually be meeting in real life. And I'm mainly talking about the fragrance community because, of course, to be honest, almost like a ton of popular standard designer fragrances that you'll find at Macy's and Sephora, a lot of those will get ragged on online because everyone's like, oh, those are basic, those are basic. Even some niche fragrances here like Elysium and Leighton, you'll hear that are like, oh yeah, those are basic scents and all this sort of stuff. But when you're really out there interacting with people face to face, they don't know those scents. They don't know Elysium. They don't know Leighton. Okay, so these niche scents that you hear me recommending are very common in the fragrance community, not popular out in the real world. People aren't, if you ask somebody, oh yeah, you know Raja Parfums, they're gonna be like, what the hell are you talking about? For the most part, versus have you heard about Dior Sauvage? Then they'll say yes, you know? So be confident in what you're wearing. If you want to start out with a popular fragrance that's safe and mass appealing and you like it, go for it, okay? That's all I really have to say about that. I hope that anybody that is just trying to get started, I hope that this brought even just a little bit of comfort in your decisions, because I know that the internet can be a little bit rough when it comes to helping to find these suggestions, because a lot of people will shut down your interests really, really fast. So stay true to what you like and let me know what your first fragrance you end up getting is, okay? I hope you have a great day and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.